Good morning, baseball fans, and welcome back to Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Do not be fooled by that fancy name. It's just me and some friends talking about baseball cards. And, well, I'm recording this Friday morning. You're going to see this on Saturday morning or thereafter. So I wanted to wish everybody a happy Labor Day weekend. One of my favorite weekends of the year. But it does have kind of a melancholy feel to it because it's the end of the summer. And when I was a kid, it meant going back to school. So the hazy, lazy days of summer are over, and it's back to the grind. But one last 3-day weekend to enjoy. So I don't have a guest today, but I do have a card that I recently purchased in the REA auction, the most recent REA auction, and it is indeed a one of one. In fact, a pop one. Let me bring it up on the screen and show you what I'm talking about here. So this is a 1940s era postcard of the Cardinals in Cuba. Now the writing on the front says obsequio, which is essentially free or complimentary of the RHC, which is Radio Havana, Cuba. Cadena Azul, which is the Blue Network. So the Radio Havana, Cuba Blue Network existed from the 1930s until 1954. On the bottom, it says Recordaro of the visit. It is a remembrance of the visit to Havana of the St. Louis Cardinals in March of 1940. So this postcard was produced by Radio Havana, Cuba, and given out for free. I don't know how many of them they gave out, but at this point, only one is known to exist, and it is now in my possession. And what's exciting about it for my personal collection is that this postcard features Johnny Mize in a Cardinals uniform. He is the standing up. He's the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth from the right, the tall man sort of behind somebody else's shoulder. The label says it also features Enos Slaughter. Enos Slaughter would be the gentleman with the towel around his neck on the far left standing up. Also featured are Pepper Martin, who's not a Hall of Famer, but certainly a very favorite Cardinal player of the year over the years. He is kneeling right below Slaughter there. And Joe Medwick is in this too, but I can't quite make out who Medwick is. I think he might be the 1/3 from the left on the bottom, looking off to the left, making some kind of remark, and it looks like multiple guys standing or looking right at him. So he said something in the middle of this photo. So I'm going to try to date this photo, but at this point, it's a fantastic part of my collection. It is, in fact, a pop one. The only other reference I can find for this card on the internet is a sale of it in 2019 in Heritage Auctions. So it sold in 2019 in Heritage, and then it sold again in REA a couple months ago to me. Not even a couple months ago, less than that. So let's look at some of the players on there. On the left here is the quote-unquote rookie card of Enos Slaughter. It's 1948 Bowman. He has multiple cards before that are not recognized as flagship. So this is essentially his rookie card. Slaughter debuted in the National League for the Cardinals in 1938. So this is his 11th season. On the far right is Johnny Mize, not his 48 Bowman, but his 1947 Tip Top. Which is also not a rookie card because it's not a flagship issue. But, it's Johnny Mize. Unfortunately, he's in a Giants uniform by then. And then you got Johnny Mize, which is his actual rookie card, which is the 1936 R312. Yeah, 1936 R312. A card that is not cheap. I bought it raw and submitted it to SGC earlier this year. Got a one which it deserves, and but having this card in my collection took several years of searching out for the right buy. But so Here's another couple of cards from this group of players. On the left is the Pepper Martin 1934 Gold Medal Flour or Gold Medal Foods card. Pepper Martin was, of course, a Cardinals legend. He was the MVP of the 1931 World Series. By 1940, he was a veteran, but he was still definitely an important part of the team. He wasn't a starter, but I think he batted in 1940 like 200 or 300 times. And Joe Medwick, who was the 1937 Triple Crown winner and the MVP by 1940, he held out for more money. But by the time the Cardinals went to Cuba, he actually was there and appeared in the third game of the series. A couple more cards here. There's Pepper Martin's 1933 Gowdy, which I guess is his rookie card. And then on the far right there is Billy Southworth. 1940, in March of 1940, Billy Southworth was not the manager of the team, but by the end of the season, he was. Midway through the season, he took over the team and became the manager for multiple years, where he won the World Series for the Cardinals in 1942, and we'll get into that. This is a really nice tip-top bread, rare issue, pop count under 20. And so happy to have that in the collection. A couple more cards are important to look at. Now, in 1940, the Cardinals went to Cuba to play exhibition games against a Cuban all-star team. The Cardinals went to Cuba in 1936 and in 1937 because essentially there was another team, I can't remember, maybe it was the Giants, who were doing spring training in Cuba those 2 years. And so they played exhibition games against the Giants. But by 1940, the Giants were no longer in Cuba. And so when the Cardinals went down, they played an exhibition game against an all-star team. The all-star team was managed by the gentleman on the left, that is Adolfo Luque, who was a pitcher for many years in the major leagues, beginning in 1914 and continuing up until like the late 30s. World Series winner with the Giants in 1936. Should be in the Hall of Fame, is not. His numbers are very good, but he is also essentially the first Cuban star in the major leagues, and really should be recognized by the Hall of Fame. He's in other halls of fame. But Adolfo Luque by then was the manager. This is a 1946 Caramel Deportivo, where he is indeed still a manager. He managed in Cuba. He managed in Mexico. He's in both of those halls of fame and should be, like I said, in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. On the far right is a Caramel Deportivo 1945-46 of Luis Tiant Sr. Luis Tiant Sr. was the star pitcher on that all-star team that played the Cardinals in 1940. So having cards for both of these gentlemen is actually really cool. I should mention there is one card missing here that I should have, and I've been trying to get one, and I will. Ultimately, part of the reason the Cardinals went down, the Cardinals in particular, went down to Cuba in 36, 37, and 40 was a coach on their team, former catcher, major league catcher named Miguel Gonzalez or Mike Gonzalez. He was a coach for the Cardinals for many years. In fact, he would manage for a brief period in 1940 after the original manager, who I will give you the name of in a second, Ray Blades. Ray Blades was fired midway through when the Cardinals were not doing well. Mike Gonzalez took over for, 10 games, and then Billy Southworth was hired to be the permanent manager. So Mike Gonzalez managed the Cardinals in 1940. He also, I believe, managed them at some point in the 1930s. So it's a longtime coach, manager, Cuban legend, Cuban Hall of Famer, was largely responsible for having the Cardinals come down to Cuba. And so Mike Gonzalez is a card that I should have. I've been looking for some of his Caramel issues in the 1920s when he was an active player, and I'll get one eventually. So let's go back to the slides. And I talked about in the title of this, it's the Cardinals in Cuba, Love and Baseball. Well, the love part is very, very cool, but also very sad. So in 1937, Johnny Mize was the up-and-coming young star for the Cardinals, and he was on the trip in 1937, and also on the trip was a woman to be his future wife. And Jean, what is Jean's name? His wife's name, Jean. I had all this in my head. You know how it ends. You forget. Jean Adams. I'm sorry. Jean Adams, Jene, Jean Adams, was a 19-year-old aspiring opera singer from St. Louis, who I guess was part of high society because she and her mother came down to spring training to visit with the Cardinals because they were friends of the owners. And again, sorry, forgot the name of the owners. The Breedens. So they were friends with the Breedens. They came down to spring training, and then they accompanied the team to Havana. And in the hotel in Havana, Jean was introduced to Johnny Mize. This would have been March of 1937. And they were engaged sometime that spring, and they were married in August of 1937. So on the far left, you see Mize obtains a wedding license to wed. Johnny Mize, 24-year-old St. Louis Cardinals first baseman, and Miss Jean Adams, 19-year-old society girl, obtained a marriage license Saturday night and got married. Mize checked out of his hotel after the Philadelphia Cardinals game in which he connected with his 15th home run of the season, and then went ahead and got married. So that's the cool part on the left. On the right is the sad part. Johnny Mize was married to Jean from 1937 until 1957, when she passed away in a house fire in 1957. So that's the sad part of it. That being as it may, there is more to this. The postcard, as you can see, it says Postal Cadena, which means postcard. RHC, which is Radio Havana, Cuba. Cadena, Azul, which is the Blue Network. And is signed by M. de la Reguera. Now, M. de la Reguera was an announcer. And you can see 30 minutes of sports every day at 1 p.m. He was an announcer, and he was a major part of Cadena Azul. In fact, there he is right there. Manola de la Reguera was a narrator or an announcer, and there he is right in front of the RHC Cadena Azul microphone. So he was responsible probably for putting this postcard out because he was the main sportscaster for that radio station. And what's cool about him is that he has a card. He's got his own card. This card comes from the 1952-53 Victoria cigarettes or Victoria tobacco issue, a Cuban issue, which is very rare. Let me bring up my screen here. Let me share my screen. So this is the 1952-53 Victoria Cuban. It is a tobacco company. And so this is the highlights and checklist. Now, I want you to look at one card right here. There's the Mini Minoso, Ray Dandridge. On the left, there's Joe Black. Now, what's cool about this is this card, this 52-53 Victoria, Joe Black, was available at the National. And Phil Garry had it. And as you recall, I purchased from Phil Garry a couple of cards, one of which was the Martin Dihigo 46-47 Carmel Deportivo. But this Joe Black was available, and I did not purchase it. I should have. But fortunately, the card was purchased in our community by John Mangini, a very wise purchase by Mr. Mangini. I believe this Joe Black is a pop of less than 10. But anyway, so if you look at the checklist of the 52-53 Victoria, there he is, number 7, Manolo de la Reguera, who is this. Hey, where is he? There he is. That card right there. So there's always a connection. So whenever you get something like this and you start looking into it, you always find this amazing stuff like Johnny Mize's wife meeting down there. Different players are on the team. And even like the name of the guy on the back of the postcard has a card. So let's go back to this for a second. So I wanted to try to date this postcard, and because it says on the label, it says circa 1940. Now you can't see that. See there, it says C 1940 Cadena Azul postcard. It's circa 1940. If you recall, the first word is a remembrance of the Cardinals in Cuba in March of 1940. So it's somewhere in the 1940s. I did look up Cadena Azul. Let me share my screen again. Let me share my screen here of this. It was a Cuban radio network that existed from 1939 until 1954. So this is no later than 1954. Our friend Manola de la Reguera was actually did I not share my screen here? Share. Right, let me try this again. Did this come up now? Yes, it did. Okay, there it is. That is the Wikipedia page for RHC Cadena Azul, 1939 to 1954. So let's remove that. So the question becomes, when was this issued? Somewhere before 1954. Our friend Manola de la Reguera worked for Cadena Azul in the 1940s, so this could be in the 40s, no later than 1954. When was the picture taken is a different story. Let me go back and show the picture itself. Now, there's a couple of clues here. One is that Enos Slaughter is in there. So the Cardinals were in Cuba in 36, 37, and 40. This could not be 36 because Slaughter didn't play for the Cardinals, even their minor league team, until the summer of 36. So it could be 37 because Slaughter was one of the best players in the minor league system in 36 and 37. He could have been invited to spring training in 37. He didn't actually appear with the Cardinals until 38. So there's a good chance that this is the 1940 photo. It's a possibility it's the 37 photo remote. One thing that also supports it could be 37 are the hats. The Cardinals wore these hats with the sort of stripe square on, not square, like a cross on the top of the hat. Until 1939, they introduced a new hat in the summer of 1940. So it could be that they wore the older hats in spring training. It's probably likely that this is 1940. But anyway, so that is a cool story about a cool postcard that I got from the REA auction. And these are the things I love to do. I love to get a cool item. I mean, it's literally a pop one. It fits right into my Johnny Mize collection, but it also has some other cool players in it. It has a cool story behind it. And there's even stuff like on the back where you can trace down different players. There's cool story about the players that they played against in Cuba. I mean, it's just, I love these stories where you get a card and it opens up to a bunch of other things and all other things that are in my collection. So that's it for my Labor Day weekend episode. I'm going to be on For Collectors on, I have two shows next week on the 9th and the 11th. Actually, that's not next week. That's the week after that. And then we got the Philly show coming up on September 20th. There's a lot happening. In terms of next week on this channel, I will have a show. I'm not exactly sure what it will be, but I will definitely have a show. So enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the beginning of the baseball pennant races. And we will see you back here in the very near future, probably next Saturday.